Welcome from the European Forum Alpbach. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska and you're watching TVP World. And it is my absolute pleasure to welcome here today Ketevan Vashakidze, President of the Europe Foundation. And today we're going to focus on Georgia in particular and on its isolation internationally, because this is the word that seems to be describing the country the best, with anti-government protests, ongoing repressions, media repressions, arrests, and mounting dissatisfaction of the civil society when it comes to the current government. You've spent decades building the civil society in Georgia. How difficult it is to be looking at that situation taking place in Georgia and see it being dismantled?
I would say the least to say that it's heartbreaking, because what you see in Georgia, there is a clear path towards the European integration, meaning the values, the standards. And this European integration for Georgia was never just elitist project. Basically, for all these years, over 70% or more, sometimes even over 80% of population supported the European integration process. And when we talk about European integration, it's building the country that is more inclusive, with strong democratic institutions and prosperity. Mm-hmm. So, and this is what the Georgians were looking for. So, although we never had government that we were happy about, there's always the direction that we're going, step by step, was clear.
There was a set goal on the horizon.
Goal, and it was acceptable for absolute majority of the country. What you see now, you see complete capture of the state by the ruling political party, and but not just ruling political party, but we see the Russian geopolitical driver behind it, Russia, that it's completely taking over the governance in Georgia. That's how we feel about it. In terms of civil society, actually it makes me happy that I see that civil society through this year became bigger and became stronger, because you see the solidarity, you see the that people are protesting things that they don't like. So Georgia was always, even in the Soviet time, was there, and there's the population that will go again on injustice.
The population has its voice,
yes,
that
voice.
They want to
but you never saw, it was mostly from the academic institutions, more intellectuals, and students. What you see now, it's across Georgia, all types of people of professions that have very clear understanding what is happening and have very clear position, and they protest against injustice, capturing of the state, violence from the state. So there's lots of hope that with joint forces we can change things around, because we've seen in Georgians history that we could change with the people's power, we could change things, but we cannot be in this alone, because we're not fighting just internal politics. It's larger than internal issues. It's, as I mentioned before, it's about geopolitics, and the major driver behind this repressive regime that we have right now in Georgia, which is against any independent voice, whether it's civil society group, academia, media especially, or any group that has an influence on population.
So you mentioned Russia as the driver behind the government's actions. We know that the Georgian Dream is the party that is currently holding the government. But I would like to look at the situation from a slightly different perspective, because you mentioned this opposition. I mentioned it myself as well. What about the people who voted for the Georgian Dream? Because obviously somebody had to vote for them to take the government. So how would you describe the sort of support for the Georgian Dream within Georgia that led to this situation that we're in right now?
Yeah. So what we're not saying that the Georgian Dream as a party doesn't have supporters. Clearly they have supporters. And if we live in democracy, we can understand that we can live with different views and viewpoints and ideologies even. But how the protest started, the major protest that I never stopped, was that falsified elections. So yes, we see through the different surveys that there may be up to 35% of population that support Georgian dream, but it's not absolute majority that supports it. So we saw, and we have civil society organizations collected lots of evidence to show how elections were rigged. This is the first. The second thing, it's like you should understand that Georgia, it's a very poor country and lots of people in poverty. During the governance by the Georgian Dream, the number of people who are under social assistance grew. That means that lots of people receiving the social assistance from the state, and they never contributed to the state in terms of paying taxes because they're in extreme poverty or they're in poverty. So when you ask one of the major questions for us when we promote democracy, it's like whether the government is a parent or the someone that we employ. So you see that and it's usually linked with the poverty and education level, that people say the government is parent because they receive something as from the parent, assistance from the government. It's also unemployment is very high, and you see in the recent years through the investigative reporting that we supported, the foundation supported, that there hundreds and 10,000 of people who are employed by the local or central government, that usually it's a cash assistance instead of real jobs, instead of like on regional office, instead of agency, some local agency, instead of having 5 employers, there are like 800 employers.
So there would have to be a structural and a societal change happening from the bottom up.
Not what I'm saying, it's like elections are not just election day, that where you can falsify or put like extra votes there. It's buying the votes.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a process. It's buying the votes, and it's also making people dependable on you so that you can get their votes. It's intimidation that was happening, and also very well recorded by different organizations. The intimidation was happening before and not just on the day of elections. So yes, we see that there's the support of the government, of the ruling party now, but again, they should not be getting the majority of votes and have basically the parliament that has the majority, not constitutional majority, the majority of the Georgian rules. So, because what we're hoping before the election that we will get multi-party parliament that will have that will have different voices and representations in the parliament, so we can decide where we're going.
And how likely is that to take place? To have this multi-party parliament with a group of different voices.
Oh, it was possible because there are political parties that are running for this. A majority.
How do we work towards it?
Yeah, but majority of the political party leaders, I think 7 or 8, are now in prison. Right? Imprisoned recently.
So who takes their place now?
Yeah, I mean, who takes and who gives? Because
somebody will have to take. Somebody will have to, carry the mission.
Yes, but we hope that with the pressure from inside and outside, the political prisoners will be out. Political party leaders will be out. We're not maybe happy with the opposition how they run their campaigns, but at least what were people saying, like maybe there is no party that represents me directly or my interests, and this is almost 40% of Georgian population that thinks that they're not directly represented by any party, but at least we could go at the like diverse groups in the parliament, and there will be debate and discussions on the policies, and especially on the Constitution, because in the Constitution, again with the coalition of the Dream Party, we put in the coalition that the Georgia's direction is European. right? And now that we're questioning this, because when the protests started, that still continue, and it's 250 days or
I think
something.
It's around 250, 260
days. And it's from November 28th, when the leader of the, one of the leaders of the, or the prime minister, basically announced that we're stalling European integration process. So, and this is where
we actually covered it on TVP World extensively.
Yeah, so they took people out to the streets, and at some point there were 300,000 people in the street. We see much less today, but it does not mean the resistance is not on every different spaces.
Since all of that has been happening for around, as we said, 250, 260 days, we've been covering the protests, but also Georgia as a country and the situation, the socio-political situation is very important. However, I wanted to ask you a question with the war between Ukraine and Russia and the negotiations and talks about ceasefire and possible peacekeeping operations. Do you feel like the world has somewhat shifted its focus away from Georgia, and this is something that might be making it harder for Georgians to actually have their voices heard when it comes to that opposition that they have towards their government?
I would not say that, because what will happen in Ukraine, it very much will also define what will happen in Georgia. So putting the focus on Ukraine now, where you have armed conflict, and seeing the European leaders uniting around this issue, so gives the hope, actually, because what we want to see, it's united Europe, like strong united Europe that then will support. As I said, like, we cannot win this alone. We need a big support from European, because again, we're fighting not just internal politics, we're finding something bigger that we don't have resources to do. So when I see that Europe is united with the together, and they're starting to push for the resolution in Ukraine.
And the Russian focus is also taken away from Georgia.
Right, yeah. I don't think so, because I think they have enough resources to operate in Georgia still, because Georgia is small, as I said, like it's the government is clearly supportive of them, so it's easier for them to operate with less resources. I think they need to use more resources because we have resistance, and they have to change tactics, more not the strategy, but at least tactics. But the attention in Ukraine also brings attention to Georgia, because it's the same package, basically, like, because we are fighting for democratic changes, and we're fighting for the united Europe.
Very shortly, because our time is coming to an end, do you think that there is anything that the European Union could do now to, in any way, shape or form, support Georgian cause? Clearly, and it should be on, first of all, on the political level, and it's happening on political level, but it should translate into the instruments, because we've saw lots of political statements, support to Georgia, but it's very slow in terms of how it translates into instruments, because civil society, media, has very little, if any, resources left right now. Operating environment is extremely difficult, because even if you have financial resources, it's impossible to operate in many fields. So we need instruments from European Union, from the delegation, from the European Commission, that we translate into the support. And the support should not just, they should not be waiting just from inside to get a recommendation, like how we can help you, they should they should frame it with the instrument they know and better than us, and be more clear, and it should be done sooner than later. Thank you very much. Ketevan Vashakidze, President of the Europe Foundation.
Thank you.
My guest today. Pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, but please do stay tuned. You are here on TVP World, and we'll be back with more.